we don't make a ton of money from sponsorships, and you have to put in effort and think about it and work towards it to make, an amount of money that I feel like it's better to invest that time and effort in growing the podcast more, and to have it be like a concern when you've got like, thousands of people downloading every episode, than to think about doing that.
Well, I think like tens of thousands of people downloading.
So basically the standard ad rates for podcasts are about $35 per 1,000 listeners per episode.
Okay.
So that's looking at,
I see what you mean. Okay.
So that's looking at like 15,000 people downloading your podcast a month or more to make $35 an episode through ads.
How many episodes were you in until you actually saw a spike in the downloads?
It's basically been linear the entire time. Like not perfectly linear, but it's like plateau up, plateau. I think like our first month in, we had, I don't know, like I remember we had days where like one of our like days in like second week, there was like 50 people who had downloaded the podcast, and we're like, holy shit.
I was like, are these 50 people? But I remember I actually interviewed for the yoga studio that I work for now. So we launched the podcast July of 2014. And so this was December of 2014. So less than 6 months. And I was like, yeah, we're getting on average like 50 downloads a day at this point. And I was like so stoked. And he was like, holy crap, that's crazy. And now if we got 50 downloads, I'd be like, what are we doing wrong? Did something happen?
We were getting like, probably 8 months in, we were getting 1,800 downloads a month. And maybe a year in, we were getting like 3,000 downloads a month. And then, I don't know, a few months later, 6,000, a few months later, 15,000, last month, somewhere over 30,000. So it's really like a time thing where it's just like over time, more and more people find it. But it's not like we had a moment when it was like, okay, a ton of people started listening because of something specific.
Okay. Do you ever notice which topics garner more interest?
The finance related ones have gotten probably consistently more, like how to travel long term. I think our ayahuasca episode with Christian Dennis is one of our most popular ones.
Okay.
It's so interesting. Sometimes we've had like some guests who we felt really excited about, like who have bigger followings, who haven't got as much traffic as just random episodes about us talking about things.
Okay.
So it's also not like an article. Like if you're blogging or something, you'll have one blog post that'll get, a few thousand views and the rest will get like 30. One can go really viral. With podcast episodes, it's pretty consistent. At least at this point, because they're not really that shareable individually.
Yeah, we did have a pretty big interview with Chris Gillibo a couple weeks ago, though, and like he's like easily the biggest name guest that we've had on the podcast. So I'm curious to see like in a couple weeks, like if that one's done better than the other ones. But yeah, for the most part, it's like we kind of get about the same amount of downloads and we get consistent growth, which has been really cool to see.
Yeah, but Andy, if you're interested in this, I can send you an email afterwards with some more info on that.
Hey, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Cool. Does anyone else have a question?
I do. So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm planning on becoming a digital nomad, and I've been doing a lot of research. I listened to your podcast. I loved the one with the words with winos. That was a good one episode, okay. I think. And I listened to like Travel Like a Boss and stuff. I just want to see like if you interacted with those digital nomads and how realistic is it, and should you? Oh,
you're good.
Okay. I just see something.
I thought that was like the camera had fallen off your dash.
Yeah, that was weird. I guess, should you go travel and have a plan before, or just go and investigate the opportunities while you're out there? And I'm particularly interested more in like the Chiang Mai region and like Vietnam and Southeast Asia. So I don't know if you have any opinion about that.
So Ali is actually joining us from Chiang Mai. Do you want to speak about Chiang Mai? Since I feel like we were there, that's how we met you, but I feel like you know the region so much better than we do.
Yeah, I mean, Chiang Mai has a huge digital nomad scene, and it's a great way to meet other digital nomads. And there's tons of like Facebook groups and free meetings to go to talk about. Like, I just went to one called "Making Money Using Instagram," for example. And so there's a lot of expats here, a lot of digital nomads. I'm a photographer, but I'm not really working here as a photographer. I've done some bartering because it's illegal, to work in Thailand without a work visa. So there is all of that you have to kind of think about and take into consideration. And also the visa thing, that's a big part. A lot of people think that they can just move to Thailand and be there for however long they want, but that's not really the case. So a lot of people do visa runs and then come back. And you hear these rumors about people cracking down on that. So for me, being in Chiang Mai, I tend to travel a lot and then come back just to avoid visa issues. But there's so many people here working digitally. There's a great community of people. I've made a lot of friends here. It is very transient, so you'll make friends and then they're gone, like Amanda and Ryan. But I love Chiang Mai. I really do. And I never thought I'd move to Thailand to live in like a landlocked area. I thought, if I go to Thailand, I'll be on a beachy island somewhere. But it's a great combination of East meets West, and it being the first country in Asia to live in, I found it really comfortable. But there's so many digital nomads here, and you'll find like a way to fit in with that community and get tons of advice. They're so helpful. They really want to help each other out. And some of the people that are coming through are like, you can get free lectures from people who are huge entrepreneurs that come to Chiang Mai just to help the community out, so you'll have a lot of help if you come here. Vietnam, I don't know about the visas. Easier. You can get a 1-year visa, no problem, for like $135 for the stamping fee plus entrance. Chiang Mai is easier. I just spent 7 weeks in Vietnam. Chiang Mai is a lot easier than Vietnam in general, but Vietnam's amazing as well. But I would start in Chiang Mai, see about it. I think you can get, someone told me that if you apply, you can get a 6-month visa, but you have to apply in the country that are you in the US or Canada? So if you apply for a visa, I think you can get a 6-month visa for Thailand, but you have to apply within the US from your home country. So that's just my advice. The biggest advice I have about traveling internationally on a more permanent basis is dealing with the whole visa situation.
Yeah, that's what we found as well. It's kind of interesting, like if you're setting out to work and travel, like to be a digital nomad, it's really nice to be in those communities. Like, it's something that Ryan and I really like in this past time when we were in Asia, like we loved Chiang Mai because there was all these like-minded people who were also working and traveling. And then Bali is another one. There's so many digital nomads there. There's lots of people. Yeah, there's lots of people who do like back and forth between them as well, between Chiang Mai and Ubud.
Like they'll spend a month in Chiang Mai and then a month in Ubud. Like that.
Or like do one visa run in like Thailand to Laos and then go over. Especially during burning season, though, I think people go to Bali.
That's when I went to Vietnam. Yeah, was to avoid burning season.
Yeah, it seems like people just go somewhere not to be in Chiang Mai.
Yeah, they do.
And then Marvin, to kind of talk about the like opportunities and kind of creating an income, is that kind of what you were asking about as well?
Yeah, I've looked at different opportunities, and I would say the common things I see are like developers, podcasters,
the world of wanderers
tends to be the more popular one.
Gente que viaja por todos lados.
Hello?
What? Somebody from San Diego's trying to talk or something, it seems like.
Is it San Diego?
858's a San Diego area code.
Okay. I'm just going to mute the phone number.
Okay. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say, so I was just going to remind Amanda that she has the ability to host and mute, thanks.
Sorry, I was just trying to hear if they were saying something. I heard world wanderers.
Sorry, a giant Spanish community. But yeah, so Chiang Mai is awesome because there's so many people there who are either, living as digital nomads or kind of in the process to making that happen. It's also really affordable to live there. I remember when me and Amanda just booked an Airbnb, which we thought was like a hot deal. And then we met our friend Nathan, who introduced us to Allie. And progressively, we were just shocked at how little they were paying for apartments. Allie, how much did your apartment there cost? They're like giving it to you for free, essentially.
It was 4,000 Thai baht, which included internet, and that's about 115 US dollars. And then my water and electric bill was $12 to $15 more per month. So for about $130, I didn't have a kitchen, I will say, but in Thailand, you don't need a kitchen. It's cheaper to eat out than to buy food and cook it. And it was in a really good neighborhood in a brand new building. It was great. I'm staying somewhere else now because I gave up my apartment when I knew I was going to be traveling for 2 months. But yeah, you can find apartments for 115. Lots of people get them for if you want to splurge, 8,000 baht, so $250 maybe a month. Yeah.
Ryan, what good deal did you get, Ryan, on your Airbnb?
We paid something like, I think it was probably like 700. We booked in Canadian dollars, but I think it was like 750 or 800 US dollars for a month.
It wasn't 800. It was like 700, which is still really good.
But just
a big studio apartment.
Yeah, but like before, we had no idea how cheap it really could be if you were there. But there's, like Ali mentioned, like every week there's nomad meetups, there's entrepreneur meetups, there's like a Bitcoin meetup every week as well. So if you go there and are open to meeting people, as well as just trying to like find ways to help people or entrepreneurs there who are kind of just like starting out, because a lot of people who have started their own businesses but aren't really at the point where like they are trying to hire people or really build their business in that way. But if you're open to like finding people and offering to help them, I feel like you can learn a lot of skills that are in demand and also create value for people and find opportunities pretty quickly there without having like your income figured out before you move.
What type of issues have you guys ran into when you try to find a place? Because I know since you don't have residency over there, they might frown upon that if you don't have, I guess, proof of documentation that you're staying there for a long period of time. Because I know I just jump on Craigslist over here and I can find a place fairly easily. But
I don't think they really care.
They don't? Well, probably not in Thailand so much. Have you guys experienced that maybe in Europe? Like, say, Paris, France, or any of those regions?
We've mostly booked through Airbnb or like just gone through like a back channel from a host on Airbnb. And we haven't done anything where we're staying past the visa.
Okay.
So I know, Ali, I think you found yours in person in Thailand. I know in Europe, they're probably more like strict about following the rules. But especially if you can get your EU or passport, then I think you'd have no issues whatsoever.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you're in Asia though, there's like anything goes. If you've got money, it's fine.
Well, I plan on just stopping there and jumping around everywhere, and I do want to go to Thailand. That's like on my top list. And I was going to go like 1 month here, 1 month there, 1 month over here, and just kind of jump around a little bit.
Oh, nice. That sounds awesome. Are you going like indefinitely?
Yeah, I already sold all my stuff basically.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Past a nervous point. I'm just ready to go already.
It's a good point to be at.
Oh, what about electricity? Those plugs and stuff. I heard you can't bring a hairdryer over to Europe because it'll blow out because of the voltage differences. Is there converters that actually handle stuff like that?
Yeah, so I think Europe is like the only place that you need to worry about it, and you only need to worry about it with things like hair dryers and straighteners. Like laptops are set up to deal with that, like to convert, and same with cell phones and stuff like that. Like if you've got a MacBook or an iPhone, you'll be fine with that. A straightener is the only thing I've had an issue with, and I don't recommend using a straightener on a European plug-in without a electricity converter. But you can buy them at like any drugstore.
Did
Okay.
it send your hair off like it did my friends, Amanda?
Yeah, it was like my bang
piece. And it just ripped right off.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it kind of smells like burning hair. And then I was like, it's horrifying. Yeah. It was like my second ever time in Europe, my first time backpacking with friends. I was 19, like just bad.
It plugs in, why not? Yeah.
It was actually my friend's mom's hair straightener too. And I completely ruined it.
You lose your hair and you lose the hair dryer or straightener, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you'll have that problem though, Brian. I assume you don't travel with a hair straightener.
No, well, actually, I got a Vitamix that I use religiously, and I don't like takes up a lot of electricity. So
you might have a problem. You will have a problem with that. I was just talking to people who have like a Blendtec or Vitamix. There are these like voltage converters I hear that you can get. I want to say someone was just talking about it for like $140. It's expensive, but they're
That's
like,
what I figured.
Yeah, they're vegan and they like bring their Vitamix everywhere, something. But there is a way.
I can buy it. I know I should buy it over here because it'll probably be a lot cheaper than before I go to Europe, I'm thinking.
Yeah. It looks like I just Googled it quickly. It looks like you can get them for like $30, $40.
Is that the voltage converter as well?
Yeah, it says voltage converter.
Oh, great. This guy was talking about $130 or $140 he paid.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I used to have one that I traveled with. I probably still have it somewhere. It'll say on it, it's bigger. So like you can get the little ones that just go into the wall. It'll be bigger, like a square. And it'll say on it that it'll convert the voltage for like an American. It's only Europe that does like the weird extra power. So like anywhere else is fine.
Excellent, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I just looked it up on Amazon. It looks like there is some expensive ones, but it looks like you could get one for like, 30, 40, $50.
So what's the European equivalent of Craigslist?
Oh,
A monthly rental and stuff like that, and just pick up things, random things.
It's like online newspaper classifieds.
Oh man, they're still old school, huh?
Yeah, we haven't rented in Europe, so I can't speak to that.
One thing I would suggest too is basically every major city has like a digital nomad group. So if you go on Facebook and like you're thinking about going to like Barcelona or Valencia, just type in like Valencia digital nomads, Barcelona digital nomads, maybe like same thing with like online entrepreneurs or just nomads without digital. Usually you can find a group, and then that's a great place to find out specific stuff. Like maybe people are selling stuff to move on. Maybe there's like a specific classified site in that town that's really good. So that's definitely a recommendation.
Yeah, like Ubud has a really good one. It's like Ubud Housing and Rental, and it's all foreigners. And it's usually people who are like, oh, I signed a lease for a year, but I've got to do a visa run. Does anyone want to take over my place for 2 months? I'm going to go to Thailand or something. So anywhere that has nomads, like people are doing all the same things, right? Because if we go to the EU, we can only stay for 90 days. So if we get a place, we probably need to rent it at some point. If we can rent it to you instead of like going through the whole Airbnb process, that's way easier for us. So yeah, definitely check.
Where are you guys right
now? We're in Canada.
Oh, you're in Canada, okay.
Yeah, so I'm in British Columbia, where I grew up, and Amanda's in Alberta for a few days before coming back here.
Yeah, we just got back from Asia on June 1st. We're just back for a couple months in Canada with a visit to the States. But I'm surprising a friend for her bachelorette party, which is why we haven't made it public.
Cool.
So it'll go public as of like Friday. So
Marvin, I wanted to tell you, for Chiang Mai, they just, there's a Facebook group called Digital Nomads in the Facebook group is called Nomad Coffee Club, and they just put together an entire list of every the complete list of nomad groups So it's everything that has to do with digital nomads and expats in all of like everything that's available in Chiang Mai.
So Nomad Coffee Coffee Group.
I just posted the link. I don't know if you'll be able to access it.
Nomad. It's called Nomad Coffee Club, Chiang Mai. And yeah, if you go to their page or try and join, someone will approve you, no problem. And then just scroll down to like a week or so ago, and you can see everything that's available for digital nomads in all of Chiang Mai. That's made as a Facebook group. And some of that might actually be some real estate there where they have like apartment rental listings available as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been watching the Digital Nomads Summit that happened, I think, in February online. So it's been really nice to watch. I don't know if you've attended that or heard of it, but.
No, I was in. Wait, where was I?
You were in Bali. You were in Bali because we were.
I was in Bali. Thank you. Because you were in Bali. I saw you in Bali as well.
Yeah.
I was like, where was I?
Yeah, because we missed it as well. But we went to that coffee club every week that we were there. We met so many cool people through it, saw so many cool people speak. Like, it's just really nice when you're on the road. It can get kind of like lonely and you can kind of start to second guess what you're doing. You're like, am I crazy? Like, all my friends are like at home doing this job thing. It doesn't feel right for me, but I don't know. Like, what am I doing here? And then you meet this whole group of people who are doing that. And you're like, yes, these are my people.
Have you seen people that have gone to teach English to make money as they're building a business?
I mean, I've definitely met people who teach. I hear Vietnam is a good place to do that right now because the money is really good. South Korea, a lot of people do that. The money is excellent. I feel like most of the people I've met who teach English are here to, it's a way to be in the country for an extended period of time. It's a full-time job. It's 40 hours a week. It's no joke. I'd considered it and I was like, I have to work with kids for 40 hours a week. I don't think so.
We have some friends that live in Taiwan who teach like 25 hours a week.
Really? Oh, that's great.
They make like a livable income. Like one of Ryan's high school friends is there with his girlfriend doing it. We have a mutual friend who's a travel blogger as well who's doing it. They said it's pretty chill. Rachel is on here. Her and her husband have taught English all around the world, but she said she's at her in-laws, so she can't really participate. They're going to speak specifically to it next week, teaching English, but I think it's just figuring out if it's the right thing for you or not, because we went out with like Ryan's friends and his girlfriend and a bunch of their English teacher friends. And like one of the girls was like, I don't know why I did this. It was like not a good reason to travel. I hate kids. Like, I don't really like teaching English. And I was like, why are you teaching English to kids then? I mean, if you like kids and you like the idea of being in front of a classroom and interacting with them, I think it can be a good gig depending on where you are. And
I've been watching a YouTuber named Alex, and he has like a business bringing people in to teach English in Vietnam, and so I've been kind of tracking it. And he sets like really good expectations, like 20 hours a week for about $1,500 a month. So
yeah, I mean
that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
And my friend who's in Taiwan, Taiwan's kind of like Korea is like Korea and China. You make a lot of money. Taiwan's kind of pretty good money, not quite as good, but the quality of living is pretty high there. And he's working like 20 some hours a week, which would definitely be enough for you to like, start working on your own thing on the side. Cause especially his hours, it's all after school and on Saturdays. So you have most of your mornings where you like have energy to do work, and he's able to support himself well and save money there doing that. I think as you get into Southeast Asia, the amount you make gets cheaper. But yeah, we've talked to
cheaper to live as well. So
yeah.
I think Taiwan is kind of a good mix though, because it's fairly affordable in Taiwan. Like it's cheaper than like Japan or Korea. But
yeah, we're doing our whole Sasha and Rachel are joining us next week, and we're going to do the whole call about teaching abroad. So that would be probably some good information on that as well.
Yeah, because they've taught like abroad, and then they teach online now. So they teach like from wherever they want in the world as long as they have Wi-Fi. Yeah, she said they have lots of info.
Oh yeah, I heard I heard online is getting really popular. So yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of online, I have a question about that. When you guys go travel abroad on your cell phone plans, usually what I do right now is I just use a hotspot from the carrier that I'm using, and I just go, sit on a park bench and work a little bit. Rather than finding Wi-Fi spots everywhere, do you guys just get like a local phone and switch SIM cards, or?
Yeah, so we since we're Canadian, we kind of have to. Canadian phone companies suck. They're just terrible. So we buy new SIM cards in almost every country you go to if we're staying there for long enough. Depending on the country, the prices can vary a lot. So like we went to Thailand and bought unlimited phone plans for a month, and it was under $40 Canadian, which was amazing. But then Japan was super expensive. So it varies by the country, but we've bought SIM cards most of these places. I know in the US though, T-Mobile has a worldwide plan that I think is quite affordable that gives you, I believe, unlimited data all over.
Yeah, I have it.
How much does that cost right now?
So what was that? The cost?
I would say like 100, but I'm also paying for my phone in that, so it's probably like, I think the data plan itself is like 70. But I was just in Italy like 2 weeks ago, and it was okay because it goes down to like 2 and 3G speeds, not LTE. So I would say like, if you go to Europe though, I mean they're pretty advanced with that. So I feel like if you got a SIM there, I know they're changing, because I know a girl in Italy, and they said they're changing all the plans. So like there's free roaming across Europe. So I think
that happened last week.
So
That happened last week, actually. It's no more roaming. They abolished it in all of the European nations.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's going to go cheaper, and then, you can find Starbucks there.
But over here, it's been a pain in the ass, because when you're using a personal hotspot or Wi-Fi, like T-Mobile was the only one that let me do it unlimited. And whenever I'm like sending data back and forth from my laptop, I find that it's hard to find a carrier that I can do a hotspot with, because I'm going places where I'm guessing you're probably not going to have Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Where do you think that you're going that won't have Wi-Fi?
Just out in the country in Spain. I just kind of want to go out in the mountains, do some hiking and stuff like that, where I'm not going to be around a coffee shop, really.
Yeah. Are you you want to be working while you're doing that?
Yeah, I got to carry a laptop with me at all times to do some research and stuff when needed.
Yeah.
You have to be by that with some type of, streaming package, whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Spain, but it's even from like 2014 to now traveling, I feel like Wi-Fi is just so much more prevalent and available. Like, even like rural Myanmar, we can go get like decent Wi-Fi these days. So I think you might be surprised about how plentiful Wi-Fi is, but also just switching out SIM cards when you get to new countries is also pretty easy. And if you've got a
is unlocked, and then you can have a SIM card in any country, but yeah, make sure your phone's unlocked first.
Yeah, I did that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, I have a question.
Yeah, shoot.
That can be directed to each and every one of you. So if you were to draft a list of the largest reasons why individuals travel, they tend to be tourist related, and then you get maybe deeper, you get into digital nomad life, you get into satisfying that urge that some people have to go and see remarkable things. Maybe it's eco travel. Maybe you're traveling based on volunteer work or something of this nature. But I've been playing with this idea now. I think that my brief 3-week trip to rural Bahamas was a lot more impactful in my life than my 3-month backpacking trip across Europe. Because in Europe, you see all the things that you expect to see, and it's beautiful and it's wonderful, and we all love it. But in rural Bahamas, I was experiencing the third world, where every year hurricanes smash into this island, and the population sort of slowly rebuilds until the next hurricane wipes them out. I learned that Haitians are shot on sight by the local police force. Like, I'm learning these crazy things about parts of the world that I'm so disconnected from. And it got me thinking about this idea. And it's sort of how I've planned this trip across South America is emotional tourism. Specifically because I'm not a very emotionally acute person. I don't have a huge amount of empathy. So for me, traveling like I did in the Bahamas to put myself in a position where I specifically experience something that will trigger an intense emotional reaction within me is something now that's like way on the top of my list of things I'd like to do when I'm traveling. Does this has this ever been something that has been in any of those listening in your minds when you pick a destination to go? Do you think, okay, I'll go here for this, let's call it museum, heritage site, national park, whatever, and then this rural village so that I can get a taste of what it's like to live on less than $1.25 a day, something like that? Have you ever sought that out?
Absolutely, 100%. But as a photographer too, I'm also looking for, I'm looking for that humanity. I'm looking for that people who can be so content and happy. I mean, you're looking for like the sadness of it a little bit.
Well, it could be sad, but it could be anything. You know, it's just anything that will trigger a big rush of emotional.
Yeah, I mean, I am very emotional.
Okay.
Already, like I'm very connected to feeling. But yeah, it's amazing to go somewhere and want to go off the beaten path and see how people live and experience that if you can, and try and connect with those locals. Like, that's why I travel, is to seek out those experiences, to meet new people. And I'm not just talking about expats, you know, I want to meet the locals and try to communicate. I mean, obviously you have language barrier issues, but to have a better understanding of how other people live. And it's changed me in a very profound way. Like, I'm just live such a simpler life. I'm so much more grateful for every little thing that I have. It's so great. I mean, that's why I travel. You know, I take breaks in Chiang Mai, of course, because I have to break sometimes. I can't just go. But it's going to be amazing. You're going to love it. And yeah.
Can you think of any specific occasions, like where have you been before Chiang Mai where you sought this out?
Oh gosh, that's a lot. My first trip that made me want to travel and see more, like, I just went on a trip and I went to Peru actually. And that changed me. It did. It's just the seeing how little some people have and how content and happy they were. And also is a, you know, photographic heaven. It made me want to just see other cultures and ethnicities and learn from them as well. So Peru is the first place I went to, you know, where you have this really old lady selling hearts of animals at a market, and it's like rough and gritty, and I have her portrait on my website because it's just this reminder of, you know, this. It was just amazing. But I've definitely gone off the beaten path in Vietnam, not so much in Thailand, in Bali a little bit, as much as you can in Bali. Myanmar. Oh yeah, there were some couple small villages for sure. Yeah, Myanmar was amazing. There's a huge rat infestation now in Myanmar though, and they're paying people 4 cents for every dead rat that they turn in. Oh. There's this whole thing. It's really kind of funny in southern Myanmar right now.
That's probably why I got food poisoning there.
Wow. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for sharing, Allie. I appreciate that.
Yeah. What I've done, which is something that you can maybe do, it's great when you can go off by yourself. But what I have done is I've hired sometimes a local to bring me. I say, I want to go to like small little villages. I don't want to be in Siem Reap. Bring me somewhere else, and use them also as my interpreter. So bring me to a little village. Where are you from? Are you from near here? And then that allowed the introductions and the translation. So you're going to have to pay for that. But in that
and was that just like did you just go up to like random people?
No, wherever like I was staying. So say like a hostel or where I was staying, say, I'd like to hire a driver to bring me around outside of Siem Reap, for example, and go to like little local villages. I'm a photographer. I'd like to get some real portraits of people and have these kind of interactions and stuff. And so they would make a call. I would meet someone, or sometimes like in Mandalay, I met a local. He just started talking to me and he said, what are you doing tomorrow? I was like, I don't know. What are you offering? And for $10, he drove me around and, you know, it was great. So locals are definitely the way to go. I met a local in Vietnam and I wound up spending 2 nights at her house, you know, did trekking with her. She met me off the bus, this Mama Susu, 60-year-old woman, you know, and yeah, like she busted out the bong and everything. It was hilarious. Like 2:30 in the afternoon and I'm ripping bong hits and drinking happy water, which is rice wine after 15 kilometers of trekking, you know, like you can't beat those experiences. You can't even predict the awesomeness that's going to happen, you know?
Glad I asked.
Yeah. Allie has so many stories like this. I don't know if there's something about you that attracts that more than other people, like maybe being a solo female. I feel like it happens to you more than it happens to Ryan and I, but like Allie could tell stories for hours about this. Like her stories are incredible. Like I met this person, then he invited me for lunch. So then I said yes. And then I slept at his house. And then the next day we did this activity. And then, you know, I showed up like 3 days later and all was good. And I'm like, what?
You learn to, when I first started out as an American, we don't trust. We just don't. I mean, at least I don't. And you learn to trust. Like people are good. Most of the people in the world are good people. Watch out for the scammers in Vietnam, though. I got scammed bad a couple times. But in general, you have to trust. But Amanda's 100% right. When I'm traveling alone, I tend to have these more authentic, real experiences because people will approach you because you're open, you're looking around, you're making eye contact with people. When you're with someone else, you're engaged with that person walking down the street and you close yourself off a little bit. So most of my most amazing experiences are when I'm traveling alone, 100%. Yeah.
That's very insightful, especially what you mentioned about the eye contact.
Yeah. Think about it when you're walking down the street and if you're looking at locals that make eye contact and someone smiles at you and you smile back. And in Southeast Asia, people are so friendly that a lot of times it'll initiate usually it's like, where are you from? And you say where you're from. And then if they speak English, you start a conversation and who knows where it can go.
One site I recommend that connects you to people from all over is Couchsurfing. And I consider myself like an ambassador to Orlando. And I've hosted people from all over the world. And the more reviews that you build, the more connected you are with other people overseas, that they're more susceptible to, inviting you into their home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I utilized that a lot in Europe just because I found it a lot more fun than other forms of accommodation. Mm-hmm. You know, there was a moment in Italy where I stayed at this guy's house and he had a brick oven in his garage and we were making pizza in his oven and we were just standing there and this sort of late 50s man in a tracksuit just kind of walks in. I don't know where he came from because we were kind of in the countryside, but he just sort of walks in, starts arguing with our host. I don't know what they were arguing about, but it was in Italian. And over the next 4 minutes, 3 other men from who knows where all just started wandering in and started arguing. And I thought, is this real? Am I in a film? But so couch surfing is definitely something I've utilized before.
Maybe they're just speaking Italian.
Yeah, right.
It's just like, hey, how's it going?
Regular conversation.
Yeah, right. They just happen to have it in that sort of tone. That very unique tone.
Yeah, we've like done couch surfing on both sides of it. I actually prefer to host than I do to stay with other people. We like had a really great time hosting. We hosted some really cool people that we're still friends with. So
I prefer to stay with my own place, but I connect with people and I hang out with them, grab a beer, and then we throw some ideas back and forth usually.
Yeah. I think that's one of the cool things about couch surfing too, is I think people always think like, oh, my couch isn't available or I live with roommates. And it's like, well, you can still be on couch surfing and, just open yourself up to meeting up with somebody. Cause that's massive too. When you're in a city is like, you can look at the top 10 to-do lists, or you can look in Lonely Planet. But if you can have somebody who can take you to their favorite taco joint that's like a hole in the wall, it's so much better.
Yeah, completely agree.
Tacos specifically, of course.
Andy, to talk to your question, it sounds like you're kind of talking a bit about like having like travel as like a transformative journey, or like traveling for meaningful experiences. And I think that's something, it kind of relates to like working and traveling, is that working and traveling is kind of, it's a blessing, but it's also kind of a curse in some ways. Well, it's not a curse, but it has some downsides, in that like you can't really unplug and just go like wander off, you know, for a long period of time, and you carry around a laptop, which is expensive. So you feel like this sense of risk involved with it. So it's amazing because you can travel and like go see places, but you can't get like, I think you can travel like physically, but then you also travel mentally. And maybe that's something you're talking about when you go to Europe and you travel far physically, but not very far mentally, because you're connected to Wi-Fi a lot. You're connected to the common culture, and you don't really see things changing around you that much. So one of the things we're learning about as we get used to working and traveling is kind of like, how do we mix these two better so we have these opportunities to have this like this space from our home life and really like disconnect and escape and have really new experiences and like serendipitous experiences. Because also as technology gets better and you can Uber around your city and find Airbnbs with great reviews and all this stuff, you kind of close yourself off to those like serendipitous moments, because you can like get everything planned.
Yeah, it's almost like a there's an equation. There's an exact answer to that question, and it's very hard to seek it out, because we talked about this the last hangout briefly, because I asked if you guys ever like yearn to just go, and you mentioned I can, but obviously the fact that you can work remotely offers this huge. You've probably already visited more countries than I'll ever visit. I don't think the digital nomad could work so much with me, because I have to be able to just go, and that's fine. But I think finding the mix between I like to plan things, and so you plan, and you have the collected consciousness and knowledge of the entire human experience at your fingertips. So you use that for all it's worth, but you do have to, I do kind of purposely, as a safeguard against what you were just referring to, try to leave gaps where, instead of saying, here's the bus schedule, the timetable from this city to this city, it costs this much and takes this long. It's like, I'll just leave big gaps where it's sort of like a trap, where I'll just walk into it and I'll have a miniature panic attack. I just got to figure it out. But that way it sort of protects me from transforming something that shouldn't be a westernized experience into a westernized experience.
We had a moment this trip where we went to Shanghai just for a weekend. And since we're in China, our phones have all our Western apps, which are all censored there. We had VPNs, but things like Google Maps didn't work, Uber didn't work. And it was kind of funny because it was kind of like a bit of a hassle and we were kind of a bit annoyed. But then it also just made it a little bit more fun and adventurous, because we're walking around the city. We can't call an Uber. We can't rely on Google Maps. We just got to like figure things out. And it kind of makes you come alive a bit.
I always say like the challenges you face when traveling are something that nothing in the world aside from traveling can prepare you for. So like no amount of money or education or high status can help you in that situation where nothing's in English and you just need a taxi and you don't know where the hotel is.
It's almost like
to do.
It's almost like having access to a SIM card, like putting your SIM card in and like turning your phone on airplane mode or something, and being like, I'm going to get gloriously lost today, but I can turn my phone on if I need it.
There you go.
It's like, I don't know, for me as well, it's like I'm always cautious, especially if I'm by myself, that I don't want to get in a dangerous situation. So it's like, I feel more comfortable if I'm just like, okay, I can walk freely, but I know that I could like call for help if I needed it. I've never needed it, but it's like, it's still like in the back of my head.
You do like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. That's what you should do. Choke people.
Need to learn some jiu-jitsu.
but that's something we've Amanda and I have talked about. Like, we've really enjoyed this like era of our life where we've kind of learned how to create, like, it's been really fun to go from this point of like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could travel all the time, to like actually being able to do it.
I can only imagine.
There's something like missing a tiny bit. And like, we love this life, but we've talked about like, okay, before we're like 31, like 3 years from now, we're going to like quit everything and just like disappear for like 6 months.
Well, when you get back, you better do a very long podcast episode so I can hear all about it.
Yeah.
Just a whole series.
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of those things where so it's like we've spent a lot of like close to a year now. I've spent a little more than a year trying to build up our income so that we're sustainable anywhere in the world. And then it's like you get to a point where like you get there and it's like, well, I don't want to give this up now. I want to do this for a little while longer. But I mean, especially with what we do, like thinking about time zones and, if it's like some of my favorite things have been like going to the jungle in the middle of Bolivia and taking a really scary prop plane over the mountains and swimming with dolphins and fishing for piranhas and just doing these things and not having any internet for 4 days. And now it feels like a lot more like there's things that have to get organized for us to be able to do that now. It's harder to disconnect for longer periods of time.
Yeah, I get that. That's totally makes perfect sense.
Does anybody else have a travel question? Yeah.
I didn't know you could raise your hand in here. So cool.
I just saw that.
Where?
I was like, oh, I'm going to raise my hand.
She's got her hand raised. Can anyone else see it or just me?
No, we can see it.
Okay.
Like,
so cool.
on the screen, like you mean physically or like something
Like
else?
just raising, just raising your hand.
You can do it. Everybody.
Yeah, when you click on the participants and it shows the list on the right-hand side, at least on my screen, on the bottom there, it says mute me or raise hand.
Oh, there's a feature.
Ah.
I just do it physically.
I think that's so cool.
To see what would happen.
It's 2017, Brian.
Everything's so kind of Go ahead.
But I did have a real question is, so I find it really difficult for me to be really diligent when I'm traveling, especially moving every few days to do work. I mean, okay, I take my pictures, but to download, to back up, to edit, to write anything. How do you do your time management? How much time a week do you spend working, if you will, versus experiencing where you are? Like I know in Bali, I think you took one day that particular week and that was like your day off. Is that consistent?
So it definitely varies place to place. So kind of just depending on our situation, like Bali, for example, was like, we went there and we're like, we're going to get a place, we're going to get memberships at a co-working space, which is, another expense that's not super cheap. Like it's affordable, but it's not super cheap. So we're going to use it. And we just worked pretty much the whole time. And, right after that, we took a trip to Japan for 3 weeks and we worked basically none of the time. Of course we have to do work consistently, but there's sort of like a minimum level that we have to do to get by. And then there's like more and more that we could do and more that we could grow the podcast and grow our entrepreneurial activities. Because it's kind of like as much as we put in is kind of as much as we get back. So if we work less, we make less. So yeah, it's looking at different places. Like the places that are more digital nomad friendly, we usually spend more time working. But on average, we probably work like 25, 30 hours a week. Is that right?
But it's not like if you looked at a graph of it, it would be like like Amanda said, we've like set our life up so there's very few things that like have to be done each week. So like for me, it's putting out a few of the podcasts I work on, doing calls for our praxis work. And then, that's basically it. That's for like what has to be done. But then we've got all this stuff we want to do. And like, if we want to support ourselves, we need to like find ways to make more money. So yeah, we've kind of gone through phases where it's like, we've taken time to really focus on work and then taken time to really focus on travel. And I think for us in the future, the best way to do that is to be like really explicit about it. Like, okay, we're going to spend the next like 6 weeks really defining like, okay, we're going to work, Monday to Friday or like Sunday to Tuesday, whatever. Work hard this period of time. Then we're going to leave that all behind and travel and then kind of come back to work, even though we're like technically traveling all the time, but like still having these phases. even though it kind of seems like going back to the old way of doing things, but it just helps because you'll find yourself like traveling or like sightseeing or something, and you're like thinking, oh, I should be doing this or that, or you find yourself trying to work and you're thinking, oh, I should really be getting out there and going to see stuff. So it's good to get like clear lines between those two.
Yeah, and also thinking about like kind of on the note of like each place is like thinking about, you know, why are we going to this place? What do we want to see here? Kind of like being intentional about location choices. So like Chiang Mai was intentional for work. Myanmar was intentional for like exploring, taking photos. Like that wasn't for works. And Japan, very intentional about not for work. Like it's really expensive there. It was not on our budget to go. So it's like, if we're going to go, we're going to like get the most out of it. Like we're going to eat all the sushi and see all the stuff. And not dedicate extra time to working. So that's why it's kind of like if you averaged out our work, it's like somewhere in Bali is probably working like maybe even upwards of like 50 hours because we're, you know, consistently doing work like all day pretty much outside of yoga and eating. Then going to Japan and working like 1 hour a day. So.
But I do kind of feel like it's a bit of a misnomer to call what we're doing work because like a lot of it's like, you know, having conversations with people to record podcast episodes. Or for me, it's like listening to podcasts that I'd listen to anyways and just like cutting out ums and ahs from them.
Isn't that like the dream though? Doing something that you don't
Yeah, it's like work? It's not like we're like slaving away here. It's actually stuff we enjoy doing.
Yeah. Yeah. As my mom would say, I don't have a real job like the rest of my friends. Which she actually said that the other day. So I'm not making that up. And I was kind of offended at first. And Ryan goes, isn't that kind of the goal? Like not to have a real job? And I was like, maybe. I was like, maybe I'm actually flattered.
Yeah.
Marvin, you just asked if this video is posted. We haven't really talked about that. Ryan, do you have thoughts off the top of your head? You're muted.
I hadn't thought about it. Does anyone who's on this call have an issue with being on a video that gets posted?
No, it could be useful for other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of just, James had messaged me privately and said, I can record it for you. And then I was like, oh, I should record it since I've got a pro account. Yeah, if you guys are all fine with it being posted, then I think we'll probably throw it up on YouTube so that other people can see. And I think that these are like, it's really cool for us to get to interact with other people who are traveling and who love travel. Like that's why we do what we do. So yeah, the more people who can get involved is the merrier for us. Hopefully for you guys too.
I have a question regarding that.
Yeah.
So building a community is something you guys are pretty interested in, yeah?
Yeah.
When I found this podcast, I typed the word travel in iTunes. And yours was one of the on the very first suggestions. And I was wondering if in the future you had plans, especially considering your steady growth, you ever had plans to turn the World Wanderers podcast into like the World Wanderers Network and have like a family of travel podcasts? Because that could be a really cool idea to help build community. Because then you have other travelers hosting travel podcasts, having guests that you can then borrow, and you all kind of feed off each other.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. We never like even thought of that.
We never thought about it, but yeah, if you want to talk more about it, we'd be happy to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I'd love to. It's just an idea I had the other day.
Yeah. Let's book a call off of this and chat about that.
Rad.
Yeah, something we have talked about that's really getting popular on Facebook is creating like Facebook groups. So it's like a closed group, but that anyone can join it if they want. That's something we have thought about because that gives more of like an intimate space than a Facebook page, because I feel like a Facebook page it's not that it's not like a safe space, but it's like, it's a weird space to post like, hey, I'm going here. Does anyone have any recommendations? And I'm part of a couple travel groups that I feel like are really valuable for that type of stuff. So that is something that we've talked about.
Yeah, you guys could run the world.
Thanks. Much appreciated.
Join on my resume. All right, guys. So it's just past something 30 in whatever time zone you're in. So we should probably, that's when we had scheduled to, right?
Yeah, for an hour.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll wrap this up. Does anyone else have any questions or anything they want to share?
No, see you guys next week.
Sounds
awesome.
good.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking time out of your days to come. And yeah, hopefully you guys can make it next week, where we've got Sasha and Rachel coming to talk about teaching all over the world and online. So if that's something you've ever been interested in, and they've just got a fascinating history, fascinating story. So
yeah, their story is super cool.
They live in Mexico too. So if you've got questions about that kind of stuff, China, Mexico, Bali, all those places.
Music festivals. They travel to music festivals. Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, and if you guys have anything that maybe someone who's been on the podcast before, who you think like, oh, that'd be really cool if I had a chance to ask them questions. Most of the people who we've had on is, obviously there's some people like Chris Gillibo we can't probably get to do a group hangout, but if you've got any suggestions for group hangout, we'd love to hear them. So definitely fire those messages our way if you've got them.
Yeah. Okay, awesome.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.